Hello and welcome. Our top story. Srinagar woke up to a morning of relative peace after curfew was eased overnight. Now, in an exclusive interview to NDTV, Chief Minister Omar has revealed that the army has not been used in the city since yesterday and is only on standby till next week. Asked about whether he regretted the decision to call in the army, he said he had the most difficult time convincing himself and then the rest.
Let's take a look at the original decision to deploy the army. You've been criticized roundly for it by the opposition here, who say it's completely the wrong message to send. There are a number of Kashmir watchers who believe that the symbolism is all wrong, that at a time when you should be politically reaching out to people, you've used more force to quell anger.
Well, let me ask you, you've been here a few days. How many places have you seen the army?
Nowhere in the inner city, actually.
No, actually...
I'm just barely on the periphery.
That's it. I mean, the decision to deploy the army was taken under extremely difficult circumstances in which the mood of the people was very raw on Tuesday. You know, it's one thing to mourn the death of a stone pelter. Perhaps somewhere people tend to react a little differently. But when the young lady, Fancy, died leaning out of her window watching the proceedings in the street below, the mood changed completely. And we really couldn't take a chance with huge crowds coming out. And at that time, the mood was such that no political reaching out would have worked. We needed that breathing space to give tempers a chance to cool. And using the army in the extreme periphery, please understand, I don't think we ever moved more than 6 or 8 columns. And that too in the extreme periphery of Srinagar. I mean, it reached a point where we actually had to use some of these army people to stage march, a flag march, so the media could capture it and actually show it. Because the media said, well, where are the army?
But isn't there a contradiction there? Because the army made it reasonably clear, and so have you, that the army was never going to be brought into direct confrontation with protesters.
Absolutely, that was never the intention.
So then what was the purpose?
The purpose of what? Of
deploying
them? A, to send out a message that the curfew is in place and it has to be respected. B, to ease some of the requirements that we had for forces in the peripheral areas to move them into the interiors. And by deploying the army columns, just flag march symbolically in those areas, we did manage to free parts of our J&K police and CRPF to increase the numbers in the areas where we felt there would be trouble. Look, the proof of the pie is in the eating. If something, God forbid, had gone wrong, I would have faced the consequences for that. I think the decision has to be seen in the light of its consequences. At no point in time were the army engaged by the people. At no point in time did the army get into any confrontation with the people. Since the decision to deploy the army was taken, they came out all of 2 days. And fortunately, touch wood, so far, we haven't had a serious incident of trouble. I think the decision was the right one, and the result was what we had hoped it would be. Now, it's not a decision that was taken lightly, and nor do I hope to ever have to take a decision like this for the duration that I'm Chief Minister.
Are you in a position to start withdrawing the columns that were deployed?
Columns weren't deployed yesterday.
The army was not used yesterday
The army
in Srinagar?
did not come out yesterday.
In other words, it was there for just 48 hours?
We deployed them twice. The first day, we deployed them a little more than the second day. The second day, only 2 movements of the army took place on the road to the airport and on the foreshore road around the Dal, and that was it.
So can it be said that the army is no longer deployed in Srinagar?
As of yesterday, we haven't deployed the army, but we haven't formally cancelled our request. Clearly, given the circumstances, the option had to be made available to us, and we still have that option. But given the sensible manner in which the people have reacted to the curfew, and no effort has been made to breach that, that has given us the confidence not to require the army to be deployed yesterday, and so far we haven't required them today. So long as this is the prevailing scenario, I don't see the need for us to call them out.
When do you hope to officially withdraw them?
When we have that level of confidence. It's being monitored on a daily basis. I think we might wish to have that option available to us till the 13th and then take a call on it.
There is a perception that you had a tough time convincing the Home Ministry and the Ministry of Defence about why you needed to deploy the army.
Well, I first had a tough time convincing myself. I needed to be convinced first by my DG and the others advising me. I had lengthy discussions with my ministerial colleagues about the appropriateness of it. I spent a lot of time on self-introspection because I knew that symbolically this is not an easy decision to take. Practically also, the army are not the sort who will stand around waiting for people to pelt stones on them and beat them up. They would use force, and that was a real worry that I had. But under the circumstances, as I said, with the mood being what it was on Tuesday, and also having worked out, I think, the most sensible deployment that we could have done. I know the media were expecting tank columns to roll through Lal Chowk. That was never the intention. And I again come back to the point. I think a decision has to be seen in light of the results that that decision delivers. It wasn't an easy decision. Some would suggest that maybe it wasn't the right decision. But I'm the one sitting in the hot seat. I had to take the decision. I took it. And so far, fortunately, the results have been what I had hoped they would be.
Well, asked about whether he could have handled the crisis differently, the Chief Minister said while he was open to criticism, much of the criticism coming his way was subjective. However, he said that in the end, the responsibility was his, saying he would have to rebuild his credibility brick by brick.
Are you planning, once things settle down, to maybe meet some of the families of those who have been killed?
Let me once and for all sort out this immediate problem, and that definitely is something that I would need to do, not politically. So don't be surprised if you don't see it on any channel or read about it in any newspaper, but just for my own personal atonement for the way I feel, that would be something that I would like to do.
So you do feel the need to atone, you do feel that in a sense the
as I said, Barkha, I mean, even if my finger is not on the trigger, the butt of the rifle is on my shoulder. I mean, I cannot and will not shy away from my responsibility. I've never been one to shy away from my responsibility. I've never been one to shy away from admitting that, look, I'm wrong and I'm sorry.
Does that give you sleepless nights?
This job gives me sleepless nights, and but then that's always been the nature of this place and this work.
But do you feel weakened in any way by this crisis? Do you feel that it has taken away your strength in a sense to bring back control to the city?
I have there are no easy answers for that question. This has been a huge setback for me personally and politically as well, and I've got to build it back brick by brick.
That's honest.
It's the truth.